We hold the world ransom for $100 billion.
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're going to hear about it.
Win more prizes, too, with Larry Kinney on Bowling for Dollars, the show that lets you play and win at home.
You're listening to The Review on the OSG Podcasting Network.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Review. It's the online sports guys talking college football, OSG sports team, if you will. Joining me this week, OSG Daydub, OSG Nelson, and I, of course, OSG Phil. And we are three of these many online sports guys team. And, well, another week, and it's another week where we talk about the impact of COVID in college football, guys. This week, the big news probably being the NCAA released some medical guidelines that they'd like for universities to meet before they can officially start playing. Good move, bad move, some interesting things in there, such as 72 hours in advance testing, the whole works. Is this just kind of window dressing here, guys? Let me know what are your thoughts.
You put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I'm just gonna phrase it this way. What took you so expletive deleted long to even come up with a plan? This is once again, you're looking for some kind of national guidance in this. And football isn't the only fall sport going on that folks are heading to when it comes to practices. In these situations, you would like to think that the national governing body over all of athletics, because that's last time I checked, looking at those initials, National Collegiate Athletic Association. If you're national and you're talking about athletics, why are you doing this in July instead of March? A. B. Why not sit there and say this is your mandate, colleges and conferences, if you want to do something, instead of sitting there letting it be the Wild West, and then on July...
But they can't.
If you're the national governing body...
But they're not the national governing body of the Power Five.
Then they need to just go ahead and spin off, go become the CFA all over again, and instead of being part and parcel to the process, then they shouldn't have even spoken up. I mean, honestly, because what you have is the Wild West. And what you have going on is a situation where the NCAA finally sits there and throws in their .02, and you're going, why are you doing this now? And how many of these schools and institutions really are going to listen? Because so many of them have already opened the door to the barn, and the animals are already out in the field. It's just, yeah.
You almost have to think that Emmert had to say something just to CYA here. Because, you have all these conferences that are canceling fall seasons, and all these conferences that are saying we're looking for just conference schedules and looking for independent schedules. And, I mean, it's almost like we have to say this. We need to get a better handle on the pandemic before we can guarantee. I mean, yeah, it's a placation move, but you almost have to think he had to say something, or the NCAA had to say something.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they had to go on record with this. I mean, even if they can't enforce all of it.
And go on record in March.
But if you go,
you're not wrong.
You're not wrong. But
even as a first step, go on the record in March. You can alter your opinions when we all become more acquainted with what the pandemic is, what it affects, who it affects, how it's affecting them. When you're getting into testing procedures and all this kind of stuff, when you're getting into how it affects student athletes and universities and economics and all this kind of stuff, say something in March for the first time, then adjust your opinions to where we are in mid-July, instead of saying something first in mid-July when you're 6 weeks away from what you'd like to do for a football season.
But this is kind of like what we talked about last week. Do you think maybe that they decided not to say something for fear of not having egg on their face and kind of wait to see how this thing played out?
I mean, it
to
sounds
say
like
this
a double
and
negative, though.
I mean, everything with anything involving this level of business, for lack of a better way to put it, because at the end of the day, this is a business. Of course, there's some level of PR involved. There has to be.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Then PR it 4 months ago. Don't just start PRing it now.
That's what I was saying. If this is a PR situation, their PR guys need to be fired. Because this, I mean, as someone, as we all have worked in sports for so long, as someone who played in sports, I know what these athletes are going through right now. And this whole, are we, woulda, coulda, shouldas, I mean, this could have been handled so much better in March. Said, we're looking at it. We'll give you more information, at least address it, have an overview plan, and then tweak it as need be. Don't just come out now when, freaking baseball's coming back and all these other sports. I mean, you can't just wait until now. Now he's in a have to do situation, and it's looking exactly like it is. It looks like he's doing it because he has to, not because he is trying to protect anybody's interest but his pocketbooks.
Hey, I think we got Wilkie.
Oh wow!
Hey there.
I hear lots of country music in the background.
No, that
was Nickelback.
That was
No, it's Nickelback, yeah. Do you see me?
No, don't worry about
No,
that. We
can't
can work
see
the
you, but we
still.
can
Don't
hear
worry
you.
about that.
We have audio.
We've got you. We've got your still, and we got the audio. That works just as well. Where exactly are you, for the record?
Somewhere in Florida. 30 miles from Destin.
Oh, okay.
So officially, god awful Western Panhandle, Florida, nowhere.
Yes.
Oh, that would definitely explain why we don't see you.
That's perfectly fine. We've got the stills to cover. Good.
No, Skype is being very temperamental about my saying I don't have my camera on, and I do. So I may have to do something in the commercial break.
We'll take you however we get you.
I can't wait to see what the still is that Phil brings up in the interim.
Wilkie, we were just talking about if you want to chime in here, we've been talking about the NCAA guidelines that were released this week in terms of what they would like schools to do before they get started this season. And a lot of the discussion is about how, from John, is why are we just hearing this now? And J-Dub added, is this just something to say that you put some sort of guidelines down, so if anybody asks, we could say we did it?
Are you talking about the start of the season? Because there was a little break up there at the top.
Yeah, the guidelines that just came out from Mark Emmert.
Well, I have not fully looked at what Mark Emmert came out with, but I can only guess it's something that's has the three of you guys scratching your head saying, since I've been on the road all day and I was busy
that's a fair
yesterday.
assessment.
It's just the notion of why start saying something now instead of why not start saying something back in March.
Because he's feeling the pressure right now. I mean, this is college athletics' cash cow, and there are so many factions right now that are either wanting it to start on time and have some kind of season, or just don't want to eliminate it and just have a do-over season in 2021 and just kind of let it go this time. And there's no in between. And the cooler heads have not prevailed in this. And guys, I think there's less than a 25% chance we see any kind of college football. I heard an interview with Greg Sankey early in the week, and I was very encouraged by what he was saying because let's call a horse. He gets it.
Yeah,
he gets that there has to be a season. There has to be a season of some kind. I kind of like the proposal John Swaffer has come out with let's play home and homes. And I saw a quote from David Cutcliffe where he kind of liked that as well.
Yep.
So, guys, roll the dice. See what happens. That's where I'm at right now. I mean, and like I said last week, I really respect what Greg Sankey, John Swafford, and Bob Bowlesby, the respective commissioners of the SEC, ACC, and Big 12 are doing by not being knee-jerk about this.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of at the point, aren't we, where it's either, for lack of a better way to put it, it's shit or get off the pot. And if you're going to do it, if you're going to play, let's play and let's move forward and go. But if you're not, let's pull the plug now.
Well, but I still think you've got some time here. I think that you've still got some time because if you look at what we're seeing with scheduling, and if you've knocked out the non-conference games and your payday games with your FBSs, your Go Fives, and your FCSs, I think you still have a little time to work here, and it's just what the plans are going to look like from these three conferences that we focus on, the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12. And how they'd like to address it. I think that them being as deliberate as they are can give you a blueprint to give you a full season so you're not losing all of this revenue, which, if I remember correctly by an article in CNBC, you're basically talking about $1 billion industry that is going to sit there and just leave it all on the table and walk away. I don't think these institutions can afford to do that because of what it means in the greater sense. But I still think you have some time to play with here. But I'd like to think that these three conferences may end up doing some things with each other. And that home and home idea, I really like, because what you're doing, you're taking care of travel, you're minimizing those aspects, and you're making sure that everything is still self-contained. And these are the conferences, I think, that can handle the testing that should be happening on a consistent basis so you can continue to have these games and have something as close to a full season as you can, J-Dub.
Yeah, and Iowa State athletic director Jamie Pollard said this week that Iowa State, the Cyclones, are going to lose almost $40 million if sports aren't played this fall. So yeah, money's definitely going to be a factor. But I think the home and home idea will handle a lot of these issues and will help alleviate some of the financial hemorrhaging that some of these schools that don't have these rainy day funds will be able to handle.
Well,
I will say this about Iowa State, J-Dub. I mean, they do make a little bit of a supplement with their men's basketball program and the wrestling program. The wrestling program does, I think it's almost self-sustained. But still, football, Jack Trice Stadium has to be full, and it has to have the big money donors that are buying those luxury boxes up there. But you're right about those figures, J-Dub. It has to be, football has to be played.
But how do you justify it if you're, say, a Florida International where you're an hour from Miami, which is arguably the hottest of hotbeds of the virus right now in the world, never mind the United States? How do you justify doing that, knowing that there's a pretty good chance at least 10 to 15% of the people there are already exposed to it? And say, for instance, you say, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and practice, and that kid's around a trainer or a coach or an administrator, and then that administrator gets the virus.
Play road games.
Yeah, I mean, for all the money that's involved with it, where do you draw that line between the money and the health and safety of everybody involved? And that's the balancing act they're trying to do here, and something's going to have to give.
It is two separate lanes of traffic. I will give you that, but at the same time, you've got to make sure that you can navigate both of these lanes. I think that I'm going to go ahead and assume that colleges and universities can walk and chew gum at the same time. I know that's might be a bit of a stretch in today's environment, but I think that athletic departments can sit there and figure out what they want to do schedule-wise if they've been proactive and if they've come up with plans like what we've heard from Wilkie. But I think with those plans that you hope that have been going forward, the care of the student athlete should be in that second lane of traffic. And so, I mean, I think that if they can multitask, which is what you'd like to think they can do, that there should be decent monitoring of all of this so you can get that scheduling done.
But do you think the universities that are honoring the scholarships of players that opt out of the season, do you think that's taking care of some of that student health issue? Like, let the ones who are going to play, and let the ones who don't feel comfortable will still take care of you? I mean, there's some of that student health play there.
which is something the SEC announced this week, and I think good on them for doing that. Greg Sankey came out and said that we'll honor that scholarship whether you're able to play or not. That you're ultimately got to be your decision as an athlete and an individual. I think that's a good step on his part.
Yeah, Wilkie, what do you think?
And I think you're going to see the other conferences fall into place as well with that, following the SEC lead of honoring that scholarship for the year. So I expect that.
And at the same time, we've still got this week, the University of Indiana is the latest program to say that we've got to put voluntary workouts on hold here until we get this under control. But even if they quarantine for 14 days at this point, that takes us into the first week of August. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, we're running into a time crunch.
Well, the Ohio State did the same thing with their workouts, but they're already back working again. So it was only a very minimal temporary pause.
Oh, it was like 10 days for them. I mean, they put a hold on things for a little while too. And that's really what we're getting at here is that window is closing fast. And then we've talked all about what happens here with the big schools. You've got some of the FCS, the football championship subdivision schools, who are already saying we're done. The Colonial Athletic Association this week announced that they're not playing a football season, but at the same time they left it open to their individual schools if they want to go ahead and contract out for games. They're welcome to do that.
Yeah.
Didn't the MEAC do the same thing?
Yes.
Yes, the MEAC did. I haven't had a chance to look. Have any of you guys seen that the Missouri Valley Football Conference is following the same lead?
Have not seen anything out of the Valley yet. No.
Yeah, because if you want to call it the SEC or the FCS, go for it, because that's North Dakota State, South Dakota State, those teams that compete for championships, and the CAA was that other league that also competed for championships. So I was just curious if the CAA is going to do it, if the Missouri Valley Football Conference is going to follow that lead and cancel the season. But as of right now, they're not. And there's some really good football programs in that CAA. The lady sitting to my left is a Delaware alum, so she knows all about championship football. So and that's that. When I started reading that, coupled with the fact that the Big Ten and the Pac-12 have done their thing, that's what really set my alarm up.
Right.
That probably 25% chance we have a college football season if the FCS powers are doing that. So.
And then someone like me who's I'm a Campbell alum, you saw Hampton in the Big South decide they're not playing. So there's some individual schools that are taking it upon themselves as well. But yeah, there's some good football sitting on the sidelines right now.
Yeah, I mean, I know that James Madison, who's one of the traditional FCS powers, has already said, we're going out, we're going to find some games, we're going to play football if at all possible to do that this year. But not everybody's in that situation. And for those programs on that level, there's a lot more involved because basically whatever money they get from football, that runs everything. I mean, most of the Power 5 schools live on money that they get through their athletic associations. These FCS schools don't.
Nope.
And that's a big deal for them, having to just walk away from it at this point. Be really curious to see how that plays itself out over the course of the next couple months. My computer is locking up here on me.
Well, here's a thought. I also saw, the Life of the Independent. Alabama may end up gaining a game after all the cancellations. They're in discussions with BYU to be a part of their schedule. So this is where the quirkiness of all of this could help out an independent who's looking for some games.
Yes, I saw that. There was some talk that they were going to try. I want to say it was like.
That's not me.
No, it's me.
It's your phone.
Yeah, it's the house phone that I need to get rid of.
You have a house phone?
Yeah, we do too.
It's a Michelle thing.
Yep. We have a house phone as well.
I haven't had a landline in a decade.
Well, what we do is with our landline, that's where
I'm with you, J-Dub.
That's where we direct all of our, all the sales calls and all of the calls that we really don't want. We always give that number. And so that way it steers that and it gets it away from all of our cell phones and everything. And also the boss's mom has always known that number first. So that's the first number that she'll call when she's trying to get in touch with Patty. So we keep it for her as well.
Hey guys, quick promo here for those who just are tuning in. This is the review on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network, and we are talking college football with us, the online sports guys. Guys, do you anticipate here in the next how long before we hear the commitment one way or the other in terms of whether we're going to actually see full-on practice starts and the potential for games, or are we going to back up the schedule?
Over and under, I say 2 weeks.
Yeah, I've got another 2 weeks because, well, I'll tell you what. If let's just say if the ACC has pushed their Olympic sports to September 1st, and we've seen coaches sit there and say, well, I need 3 weeks. That to me means the second week of August. So probably a little under a month for me to try to figure out how things may go as a rule. Wilkie, what do you think?
Hey, we got Wilkie's
Wilkie's cameras here. Yay, woohoo.
With the headset.
Yeah.
Check that out in the car.
Finally worked. I see that the ACC has delayed in quotes, their media day, which tells me something's in the works to delay the season. And that to me is going to determine whether we start in mid-September or whether we start in September 1st or in Labor Day weekend. So I think there's going to be some kind of delay, but again, I think it's a 25% chance, less than 25% chance we're going to play, to be honest with you.
Do you think that there's the people are maybe watching, NFL, the players report tomorrow, or now? You think they might be looking at that as a barometer to see how they handle it versus college football? Is that any kind of there?
Yes. I think how the NFL is going to weigh in. But again, I think the difference, J-Dub, between the NFL and college football is you got academics involved. Mm-hmm. And the academics are very, I don't want to say scared or afraid, but they're leery about this whole thing about having athletes close together and housed. And I mean, there's just so many other factors in college football the NFL doesn't have. I mean, these are paid professionals.
Yeah, and those practice facilities are basically isolated facilities.
Individual bubbles.
You go up 45 minutes north here in Atlanta to Flowery Branch and go to the Falcons facility. The guys live on campus during training camp, and they're pretty self-sustained. They don't need to leave unless if they weren't told they couldn't leave the campus, they'd be fine. I mean, John, do you see where they've got to make a decision here in college football as to whether we're going to stick to our quote unquote academic mission here, or are we going to have to make that distinction between that and college football being a legitimate business, which we all know?
Yeah, here's an element that I would introduce into all of this. I think that if you can include the virtual aspect of learning for student athletes in whatever environment that they're in, and then limit their interactions to those practice times, those workout times, all those other elements where I don't want to see you until I need to see you, kind of a thing. And then I could see virtual learning and virtual classes become an element in all of this to determine how much learning gets done in addition to, and I will include that to all campuses and just students, not just student athletes, but I think that virtual learning, we see it at the high school levels. We're seeing that being introduced, but I think that you'll see virtual as an element of it when it comes to the college section as well. So as Darth Vader rejoins us here,
but I can tell you, as a high school teacher who is in a state where here in OSG, North Carolina, where we've had multiple counties cancel sports for the fall. As a virtual teacher, I don't understand, this is just me, how I can't teach how I can understand, I can teach my students during the day virtually, but golf can't play. But cross country can't play. And there's some little things that tweak me about that I agree with you, John. I think virtual learning because like I said, I'm online with Kansas right now. I'm learning with everything. I'm never setting foot in Lawrence. So I think we can do virtual learning and then just go to the field, do the things you need to do. We can combine both, but I think it's a hard distinction to separate. I think academics play more of a role for the student athlete than the athlete part of that name.
Yeah.
That sounds like a country song. I never stepped foot in Lawrence.
Wilkie, we were talking before you dropped off there for a second. We were talking about how the NCAA and its universities are at that point where they're going to have to make a distinction between our athletes part of a business or our athletes students, because ultimately that's getting it at here. You've got your cash cow and then you've got your academic life, and they seem to be going on two different paths.
Well, at this day and age, they're business partners.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when they're putting in that kind of cash, I mean, they're business partners and they need to be treated as such. Yep. But they got to maintain a GPA, right?
Yeah.
So what is? I mean, what's the baseline here? What's the happy medium? I keep thinking about questions that are to be answered right now about amateurism and the role of academics, and nobody has the answers. And J-Dub, I know you're an educator, and I know. But I gotta think, dude, you gotta be really frustrated about what you're seeing. Maybe this isn't the proper forum.
No.
But at the same time,
I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated in the fact that, everyone's saying that learning can't happen virtually. And I know that I've been writing online curriculum since 2012, and I call BS on that, because you can learn virtually. And like I said, I'm getting a master's degree online. So there's something to be said. If colleges can do it, high schools can do it, and there's got to be a way to protect the academic portion of this. Because I've got, I'm at a school now, we don't have football, right? We don't have that, you're
Kansas doesn't have football?
I mean, high school. My high school. Well, we'll get that too, but we won't go there, Arkansas fans. But there's got to be a way to handle both sides of the student. You got to be able to teach the student and train the athlete at the same time. But I agree with Wilkie, though, at the same time, they're business partners. And when I played in college, as a scholarship athlete, you couldn't have a job, right? Because the NCAA rules. And now with the NIL legislation going through and all this image and likeness and things that are happening, that is going to create even more of a business parameter in college athletics. I think now's the time to make that decision. Where's the line? Is this a business? Are students paid members of this business? Or where do we go from here? And I think that will drive some of that conversation, because I think the time is now and the time needs to be talked about.
Well, J-Dub, you played college football. You know the time commitment you had to put in to be successful, and it was 2 semesters, and there were even summer workouts as well, and you had to balance that life. I was a baseball player. We had fall workouts, and we had a full season in the spring. And now, as I recall, I could have gone to work somewhere, but it was I didn't have the time.
I couldn't study job. On campus, working in the library. It was. Yeah. But yeah, there comes a point where that's where this NIL legislation is coming through that will allow students to get some cash. And if you can get it, go for it. I see nothing wrong with it, in my opinion.
By the way, we're heading down the highway, boys.
I see that.
Where are you?
I think I know where you are.
If you look real closely, you can see some COVID-19s flying past the window.
That's right.
Guys, what do you say we take a break here? We've kind of hit the halfway point in the show. It's the point where we tell you if you've got any any input, anything you'd like to add to the show, you can find us on social media at OSG Sports, both on Facebook and Twitter, and on YouTube as well, because if you're watching us, chances are you are watching us on YouTube. The guys just flashed up the phone app. It's free and available in the Google Play Store and in the Apple Store. Just look up one and only. Hang on, let me get it on my iPhone here since I'm the only one with.
Just did it, dude.
Ooh,
Scary.
Pink Floyd and the apps, very scary.
Whoa.
Would you like some more pancakes?
When we come back in the
Pointer
second
count.
half of the show,
Stuff.
the Army-Navy guys speak out about their game this season. Alabama lands a pair of Twin Towers.
Shocking.
And Trevor Lawrence makes a big personal step. All that and more when we come back for the second half of the review. You are listening to the review on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network.
The online sports guys would love to hear from you. Go to our Twitter page at OSG Sports for a comment, rant, or just whatever's on your mind about college football.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Lighten up, Francis.
Thanks for sticking around, everybody. You have made it to the second half of the review. We are the OSG Sports Teams, the Online Sports Guys. Don't forget, we have a website as well, theonlinesportsguys.com. We're on social media at OSG Sports. We're pretty much everywhere you could ever possibly think of for phone apps, social, this, that, and the other. Just look up at OSG Sports. You may not see our smiling faces, but you'll certainly see the logo. That's us. Get all of our programming there. It's really easy to do, and by God, you can't beat the price. It's free. Guys, in the first half of the show, we talked COVID, and more COVID. I'm only going to chime in with one more topic that's sort of indirectly related to that, and that's the Army-Navy game this year. Navy's athletic both academies' athletic
They ain't playing around, brother.
told ESPN this week, if there's only one game we're going to play this season, it's going to be the Army-Navy game.
We're going to play this game.
I mean, like I was telling you guys during the break, I mean, I was recruited hard by the Naval Academy, and they pushed it hard that this game's been played every year since 1890. You know, you're going to play in this game every single year. It's the biggest rivalry in all of college football. You know, we're going to be there. You know, and I'm like, that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That, you know, obviously I didn't go there, but I mean that they really care about this football game. They really do.
Could you imagine J-Dub on a sub?
That was why I didn't go. They wanted to put me in nuclear engineering on a Trident sub. I'm like, at the time, I'm 6'4", 380 bills. I'm not going to fit on a submarine.
No.
So you should have thought about that before you started pitching the Army-Navy game. But anyway, I mean, it's only not been played once, and that was in the middle of the pandemic, right? In the middle of the Spanish flu. So
there's something to be said about that first weekend in December, that first Saturday in December, seeing that game. Half the time it's snowing or it's sleeting or some sort of crazy weather.
The second weekend, so they let the conference championships have their thing, so it's the weekend after now.
It's like December 12th, I think, this year, right?
Yeah,
but still, there's a certain tradition about that. It's kind of the wrap up of the regular college football season.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's kind of in a way must-see TV.
Oh yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think
But can you imagine if that is the only game we see of all games, Army Navy?
Yeah. Oh my
And
God.
it's going to be a
Ratings
full
for that?
month after the presidential election.
True.
Oh,
I
that,
mean, it's that is going to be, and they'll probably get colossal ratings on television. There's so many marketing opportunities for that, if that's the case.
Oh yeah.
It boggles the mind. But I mean, if there's ever going to be a point of healing in this country,
Yeah.
I can see that being the first step, the first chink in the armor, I guess, for that. But if Army Navy is the only football game I get to watch, I'm okay with it.
I mean, just
I
from a
could live with
historical
that.
perspective, sure, I could live with that.
Yeah.
Another big story out of college football this week, guys, and it's something that John's kind of hit on, and Wilkie, you're very familiar with.
Trevor Lawrence?
From your history of doing the college football trophy and rivalry and trophy game show, which is a seasonal show here on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network. And that's something
Let's hope we have one.
That St. Thomas is making the move from Division III to Division I. They're
Tommy's
skipping
ain't
2
messing
steps.
Giddy up!
They were too good for their own conference, and everybody else didn't want to play in the Tommy's Reindeer game. So the Tommies were like, "Okay, tell you what, we're going to go D1," and they got the bump, and they're going to Division I. I want to see where the Tommies can do it. And I think they're in the Pioneer when it comes to football, but they're in a bunch of other conferences when it comes to all their other revenue sports. But hey, the Tommies want to take this step. I just want to make sure that the Johnnies and Tommies game is still a part of their fabric in their calendars. So that to me is the biggest question of all of this.
Wilkie, we were just talking about the Army-Navy rivalry game. Is this something on that level that most people don't know about that they might know about now because of the Division I thing?
Sorry, I was marking the lens. Oh man, you guys are a rough room. It was the top Division III rivalry in the country, and I think when you can almost fill Target Field, that it's got to be mentioned somewhere in that in kind of great rivalries. But again, it's one of those that is going to end. And you kind of hate it, and it's going to fall in the lines of Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, as these great rivalries that have ended because of realignment or moving divisions or whatever, and we're starting to lose some of these great rivalries because of that. And I'm not one to say don't progress, but are you losing something that's been a part of college football, the lore of it, and what are the future generations going to have?
Yeah, I know being at Campbell when we went from the Pioneer to Big South, that was a huge learning curve coming in from playing like Drake and Valpo and Mercer. To playing teams like Kennesaw State, and that was. We got a lot of welcome to big boy football coming through when the Fighting Camels joined Big South. So I wonder what kind of reception the Tommies are going to get in D1.
Yeah,
time to pay the toll, boys.
Yeah, it's going to be
time to pay the toll.
Oh, here we go. Who's got the change? Do you or does Kat? Oh,
we have the transponder.
Oh, there you go.
We have the transponder.
Nice.
Wow. That was actually a pretty good transition because the Tommies are going to have to pay the toll too going up to D1.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, they are, because they got
that's what I call good producing.
They got 4 years before they're going to be eligible for any kind of postseason competition in Division I. That means 2025 before they could even make it to a bowl game.
Got to jump out of the Pioneer first and foremost.
Yep. I mean, are they a team that can walk into Division I from Division III and be instantly competitive?
Can anyone Can anyone do that?
No, I mean that's a 10-year project at least.
Yeah.
Because they're going non-scholarship to scholarship, and I mean, even at the FCS level, it's a major jump. And then where the donor base going to come from?
Yeah.
I mean, do they have the donor base in place
And are they going to
to be able to successful? Yeah. And are they going to be playing games at where the Vikings play? And the stadium? Are they expanding that? There's a lot of questions about this move. But aren't they successful in other sports besides college football?
Oh yeah.
I think the answer to your question is, could they be successful? Absolutely. But could they be a train wreck for the next 3-4 years? It's entirely possible.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about Division I that's got teams like Texas El Paso and New Mexico State and teams that have struggled to be competitive at that level, period. I could easily see them leapfrogging some of those programs.
Yeah. It's Division I football!
All right, Hawk. He's been listening to the old shows, and so he listened to the old Open, so that's where that's coming from.
A couple more things to talk about here as we cruise on through the news, notes, and nuggets and things left unsaid part of the show.
And one of us is literally cruising, so
yes, literally.
Cruising on a Sunday afternoon, if you will. Thanks, Smokey Robinson. Thank you very much. Big news out of Alabama this week as the Crimson Tide get not one but two offensive linemen.
Yeah, whatever.
They're going to look fairly familiar because their names, James and Tommy Brockermeyer, they're twin brothers, linemen out of Texas. They're going to Alabama.
Yeah.
Two of the top offensive lineman recruits in the country. It's just kind of weird.
Way to go, Tom Herman. Way to keep your job.
I mean, Tom Brockermeyer is the number 2 recruit in the country. And, I think James is like 99 or 100 or whatever. But the thing is, they blew off years and decades of Texas legacy to go to Bama.
Yeah.
Luke plays for Texas now. It's just insane how Herman's like, see ya.
Yeah, the Brockermeyer name in Texas is legendary. And I remember when Daddy played for the Longhorns, I saw him dominate Arkansas, a defensive lineman a few times. If you can get the legacies to put on the burnt orange and white and put put Bevo on the side of your helmet, man, that doesn't play well in Austin or in the rest of the state.
And even the grandfather played, played for Texas. So this is like decades and decades and decades of legacy that the Longhorns just lost on. So there's got to be some reckoning here somewhere down the line.
And Alabama gets 2/5 of an offensive line in one move.
Yeah. God. Way to go, Tom Herman. Nicely done.
Yeah, and in the meantime,
Saban's like, thank you very much.
It's
the
like,
rich get richer. Big news out of Clemson this week, guys. Trevor Lawrence is off the market.
Yeah.
That's right. The golden-haired quarterback for the Clemson Tigers.
T-Law and the man's hair. But the thing is, this is the worst-kept secret since he and Marissa were dating since 8th grade. I mean,
they both at Cartersville together. I mean, they have literally been a package deal for a long time.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, but have you seen the photo of the two of them at midfield at Clemson, at the football stadium?
In Memorial Stadium, really? Death Valley is where you propose? Gross.
Well, but the money photo, I give Trevor a whole lot of credit. The money photo where he's holding the ring for Marissa, taking college rules into play, his knee was not down.
That's right. Close, but not
Nicely
quite.
done.
If you've seen the photo.
Nicely done. Yeah, but you know what? I would have taken a step further. After she says yes, run up the hill, rub Howard's Rock, and run down it.
There you go.
To celebrate.
Well, but she was in heels. She'd have to do it barefoot, though.
I mean, she's
by the
a
way,
soccer
that
player.
is,
She plays
by the
soccer
way,
for
that-
Anderson.
Yeah.
You could do that.
Yeah.
and by the way, that was something I've done a long time ago, thanks to Tim Beret. I got to rub Howard's Rock and run down the hill.
Timbo.
And you managed
The legend.
You didn't trip or anything. It's kind of a steep slope there.
I didn't trip, but I still wonder how there hasn't been any mishaps with that carpet they lay down there on that uneven grass.
Yeah.
I've only been in Death Valley twice, and I've never had the pleasure of touching Howard's rock, but Howard's rock did roll over me both times. So that we won't talk about that.
That's a whole nother story.
That's a whole nother story.
You're just glad you weren't on the 82, the 81 team that lost 82 to 20 or something like that.
There is that.
Guys, I know Wilkie's on the road, so he probably
before we go, Wilkie, show us this setup that you have to make sure that everybody knows how you're getting that signal out of there.
Well, there's not much of a setup to show you. I mean, it's my phone or Skype, and I've got my headset on, and that's it.
Well,
I don't have a dish on. I don't have a dish on top of.
Or anything? It's just,
No, I'm not Al Franken. No, I'm not going to lose a signal if I turn my head. I don't have a satellite dish or a microwave up top. This is all cellular, baby.
So you've got a mini plug for your headset that goes into your phone.
Yes.
Okay, that was the part that I was trying to figure out. That was how
Hey, guys, you and I, all four of us are products of local television, and we could do an entire podcast on that, those experiences. But we would do something like this. We would need a microwave truck, or we would need a satellite truck. And we're talking. We're child of the local TVs in the 90s, and now I got my phone, and I'm.
And me and Phil and I were both photogs in the field, and now they get all these guys with the live view backpacks where before we had to run like miles and miles of cable and satellite truck and ENG transmissions, and now it's just turn a switch and you're on the air. It's so unfair.
Hey, Wilkie.
With a battery.
Wilkie, turn to your right. Turn to your right. Literally, the woman next to you was staring at you the entire time.
Yeah, you
should flash the app at her so say, tune into us. That's what we're doing.
There you go.
Back in the day, we couldn't. Back when we were young, in the 90s, you couldn't do what Wilkie's doing right now.
No,
it wouldn't have been possible.
I know probably everywhere, but I know here in town, WRAL, the CBS affiliate, has actually NBC now. Sorry, they flipped. But they have like the breaking news trackers where they've got like the cameras in the cars and the weather trucks and like the camera on the dashboard talking to the meteorologist in the front seat. And I'm like, that's insane. We never could have done that when I was in television.
Where are you?
Well, you could have done it, J-Dub, but you would have had to have the satellite dish or the mast up, and you would have had some power cables, and they would have all been over.
Looks like they're getting ready to pull in or have pulled into the beautiful town of Destin, Florida.
Their destination.
Oh, no.
Is that where we're at? This is my first time in Destin.
Oh, you're in for a cultural experience there, my friend. You truly are.
You're scaring me.
You should.
Scary. Very scary.
Probably won't be as bad this time around.
Should I give you a shot?
See, we badmouthed Destin and his signal goes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Shouldn't be too bad just to the sheer fact there's probably not a whole lot of people traveling at this current time.
Right.
But guys, what do you say we wrap up the show? We've kind of diverged away from college football here.
The magic of television. That's why it's all the genuine curiosity that we have. Wilkie needs to
actually
spend
the
time
magic of the internet's because we're not really on television.
Well, that too, but still. Let Wilkie and Kat get home safe with Slugger and everybody and
children in tow.
Yeah, so we'll come back next week. That's some good stuff.
Wilkie, enjoy your tourist destination, guys.
And I'll actually be live and in person next week.
That's true.
Oh.
It's true.
Wow.
It's true.
That's right.
Be in town.
Oh, you're teasing me, J-Dub.
All four of us in the same town at the same time.
Oh, my God. How are we going to accommodate that? We might have to set up
Easily.
a big camera for that one.
I have to.
Take us home, Phil. Get us out of here.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Review. We kind of got off topic here at the very end of the show, but that's kind of what it's all about here on a podcast.
Here's your scenic shot.
Oh, there you go. That's
Thank
love.
you for the scenic closing shot. Brother Wilkie.
Go
For the
spring ball.
entire OSG Sports team, I am OSG Phil. Thanks OSG Nelson, OSG J-Dub, and Jay Wilkerson 16. You have been listening to the Online Sports Guys College Football Podcast. Everybody have a great week. Wilkie enjoyed Destin. We will see everybody next week. So long.
Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever. Right on. Shotgun. DC right. Flip 90 dig. On the center. Ready?